Welcome to sleep hypnosis, a quiet place where your breath slows, your body softens, and your imagination is free to wander. Tonight, I invite you to drift with me into the ancient streets of Rome, where moonlight rests on stone and fountains whisper their gentle song. If this journey brings you calm, you are always welcome to return here. And if you'd like to keep exploring new dream paths, through oceans of stars and hidden gardens of night, follow sleep hypnosis, so the next journey will be waiting for you. Whenever you are ready to drift again, take a deep, gentle breath. Put in, and let it drift slowly out. Another breath, in and out, softly, quietly, like the hush of waves on a distant shore. Feel your shoulders easing, your jaw unclenching, your hands resting in stillness. The day is fading behind you now. There is nothing to hold on to, nothing to solve, no place you need to be except here. Drifting in this moment, each breath carries you further inward, into calm, into quiet, as though the air itself has grown softer, thicker, like a velvet. Night wrapping gently around you, and in that stillness, a doorway begins to open. Not a door made of wood or glass, but a doorway in your imagination, wide and inviting, calling you to step forward, to wander into a dream. And tonight's dream is woven with stone and starlight, with history and whispers, with streets that stretch into eternity, the dream of ancient Rome. You find yourself standing at the edge of a cobblestone street. The stones glisten as though kissed by moonlight, their surfaces worn smooth by countless footsteps long before yours. The night air carries a fragrance, a mingling of earth and old stones, of olive leaves stirring in the breeze, and the faint sweetness of bread cooling in some quiet kitchen nearby. Your footsteps fall softly, and with each step the rhythm of your walking begins to merge with the rhythm of your breathing. Slow, steady, unhurried, the walls on either side of the street rise high. Built from ancient stone, each block a silent witness to centuries gone by. Ivy drapes across the surfaces, its leaves shifting gently, whispering secrets to the wind. Overhead, balconies lean outward, curtains swaying with the night air, and lanterns glow with golden light, casting long shadows that dance across the cobblestones. The city feels alive, and yet hushed, like a cathedral of memory, echoing with voices of the past, but softened, dreamlike, gentle. You pause at a small fountain tucked into a corner. The water trickles gracefully, a silver thread, unraveling into a basin of marble. The sound is soothing, steady, like a lullaby written in liquid. You lean closer. Cool droplets of mist kiss your skin, refreshing, delicate. The stone is cool beneath your fingertips, smooth from centuries of touch. You close your eyes for a moment, and you can almost hear the laughter of children, the chatter of merchants, the hush of lovers meeting in secret, all carried by this same fountain's song. You smile and continue onward. The alley widens into a piazza, a small square where the air feels more open, more spacious. Here roses bloom in hidden gardens, their perfume faint but sweet. Statues stand quietly in the corners, figures of gods and heroes, their eyes cast toward the heavens. A soft wind brushes past you, carrying the faint strum of a lyre, as though someone, somewhere, is playing music just for you. The notes drift easily, echoing gently among the stones. Before dissolving into the night, each step you take is slower now, not because you are tired, but because you are savoring every detail, every shadow, every sound, every ripple of moonlight. Across ancient walls, Rome is not rushing you. It is holding you, welcoming you, inviting you to sink deeper and deeper into its timeless embrace. You follow a narrow street lined with archways. The arches rise like guardians, their carvings intricate, filled with images of triumphs, parades, celebrations long past. Your eyes trace the lines, the figures frozen in stone, and you imagine the hands that carved them centuries ago, never knowing that you, in this dream, would pause here to admire their work. The moonlight falls across the carvings, highlighting their details, shadows deepening the curves, giving the impression that the figures might step forward at any moment to walk beside you. You breathe slowly, feeling that curious blend of mystery and calm, of being both utterly alone, and yet surrounded by echoes of countless lives. The sound of water draws you again, and you find yourself approaching another fountain, basin larger, its basin wide, its streams cascading in gentle arcs. The water shimmers in the moonlight, each droplet like a falling star. You sit at the edge, letting your fingers glide across the surface. The water is cool, soft against your skin, and as you trace gentle circles, you feel as though you are stirring the dreams of the city itself. Above, the night sky unfolds in endless brilliance. The stars are brighter here, as though the air itself has been polished by time. They shimmer in constellations, their patterns ancient, their stories eternal. You tilt your head back, and for a moment you feel as though you are floating upward into the sky, drawn by the stars. But then the sound of the fountain calls you, gently back, anchoring you to the earth, to the streets, to this dream of Rome. And so you rise again, your steps carrying you deeper into the heart of the city. The street narrows, then widens again into a forum. Columns rise tall and silent, some standing proudly, others broken but still beautiful. They are like trees in an ancient forest, their marble gleaming pale under the moon. You walk slowly between them, your footsteps echoing softly, your breath steady and calm. The air here is filled with presence, not heavy, not overwhelming, but rich, like the hushed awe you feel when standing in a vast cathedral. You imagine voices, philosophers speaking, orators proclaiming, crowds listening, all blending into a chorus of memory. But now the forum is quiet, resting, holding its secrets for you alone. At the center, a pedestal rises, its carvings intricate, its surface cool. You reach out, laying your palm against it, and you feel a faint vibration as if the stone itself hums with history, not loud, not forceful, but steady, like the heartbeat of the city. You breathe in deeply and allow that rhythm to merge with your own. Time seems to blur, moments stretch. You are not in the past, nor in the present, but in a space between, a dream woven of both. And as you stand in the forum, bathed in moonlight, surrounded by marble and silence, you feel yourself drifting deeper and deeper into the gentle current of the dream, bound. And when you begin to walk again, you notice how the stones remember your pace, how they seem to soften beneath your feet, as if they were warmed by your presence, as if they had been waiting for you. The night leans close, listening. There is no hurry here, only the gentle pull of curiosity, like a silken thread guiding you onward, around a corner, beneath another arch, past a doorway that exhales the faint aroma of rosemary and fresh oil. A distant hush rises, not a crowd, not a clamor, but a breath like an amphitheater inhaling. You follow the sensation, and the alley spills you into a wider road, lined with fragments of columns and sleeping statues, with shadows that reach like velvet ribbons across the way as you walk. The presence ahead grows larger, more luminous in its quiet. You know it before you fully see it. The way a traveler recognizes the sea from the scent of salt alone. And then the Colosseum unveils itself, vast and pale in moonlight, its arches like open eyes, its bones of stone held steady by the patience. Peas. The air around it carries a coolness and a low, soft hum, the murmur of remembered footsteps, of sand poured like time, of distant voices fading into tenderness. You pause, allowing your gaze to lift, to trace each curve, each gap, each edge softened by night. The moon lays long silver ladders across the walls, and swallows sweep through the high spaces, brief silhouettes gliding in and out of the arches, like thoughts drifting across a still mind. You drift closer, your palm meets stone again, cool, grainy, with the faintest echo trembling through it. Not a sound, not a word, but a feeling that everything passes and yet remains. Someone has left a sprig of laurel on a ledge, its leaves dark and fragrant. Prue, you bring it to your face. There's the clean green scent of crushed leaf, and beneath it something dusty and sun-warmed, like a long afternoon distilled into a single breath. The great circle of the amphitheater is a halo around you. You wander along the perimeter, moving from shadow to light, from open arch to open arch, where the city's soft nocturne spills through. Somewhere nearby, water sings again. Fountains are the city's heartbeat, steady and kind. A breeze slips by, brushing your cheeks, carrying the distant clink of metal, the creak of a cart, the padded steps of a cat that glows faintly in moonlight. As it crosses your path, the cat pauses, regards you with patient eyes, then melts into the shadow of a staircase, as if called by an appointment with the night. Inside, the arena floor is a bowl of darkness and silver. You imagine the sand as a sea, a hushed ocean, where all noise is softened, where any ripple becomes calm again. You walk along the inner wall, hands trailing over ancient stone, feeling the tiny ridges and hidden smoothnesses where countless hands have passed. The air holds a basil and pepper warmth from some late-night kitchen. You picture a clay dish lifted from the coals, oil shimmering, steam carrying memories into the open sky. You let yourself imagine the dish, its comfort, its earth, and the way it would taste, not to hunger, but to remember. One last glance, one slow breath with the Colosseum's quiet gravity in your chest, and you move on, light as a moth, drawn forward by the city's gentle glow. The road eases downward. The stones glint like scales of a sleeping river creature, and in the near distance you hear the Tiber call, a whisper threaded with moonlight. Orange lamps inventoried along the river wall seem to float, each a small sun with a kingdom of shadows. When you reach the embankment, the air shifts, cooler, slightly damp, carrying the scent of water slipping past old brick, past roots that have learned patience. A bridge arches over the river, stone and shadow, curve and echo. You step onto it, and the city widens beneath you. Here, the sky feels larger. Stars scatter with a softer brightness, and the moon gleams on the water's back, which rolls and unrolls its silver quietly, as if rereading a favorite line. Your footsteps on the bridge become part of a rhythm, river, breath, wind, stone, each answering the other with effortless kindness. At the center, you rest your palms on the low wall. The stone has been warmed by day, and now it cools with the night, gifting that coolness to your skin. The river carries 1,000 faint perfumes, wet bark, loosened soil, the ghost of citrus from a courtyard grove, and the delicate sweetness of pastries cooling behind a wooden door. A small boat glides beneath the arch. It is trimmed in soft lantern light, the flame masked in paper so it breathes a slow pulse. A figure at the stern guides the rope with easy hands, as if the river and they are old friends who have no need for conversation. The lantern paintbrushes the undersides of the arch, revealing inscriptions, old marks, names long smoothed by dew. The boat slides on, leaving the river to its silver monologue. There's a feeling on the bridge, a threshold, a quiet promise. On one side of the river you leave what was. On the other you discover what is becoming. Pews. And your breath becomes a bridge to carrying you from moment to moment, without urgency, without demand, with only the gentlest curiosity. When you continue, your steps carry you into streets that seem to know your name, though you have not spoken it aloud. Vines spill like dark waterfalls from balconies. A painted door, sea-green and weathered, holds the tiny gleam of a brass knocker shaped like a laurel wreath. A swallow's nest rests under a cornice, and from within comes a murmured flutter, the soft punctuation of life at ease. You come upon a market that only opens in dreams. Its lights are low and amber, its fabrics drape like twilight, its stalls, adorned with threadbare maps and glinting coins that were never meant to be spent, The air tastes like cinnamon and toasted nuts, like honey warmed in the palm. Baskets hold figs with thin, taut skins that whisper when touched, pomegranates like lanterns of seed and sugar, and grapes with powdery bloom, each sphere a small night sky pressed into fruit. A vendor smiles at you, eyes bright, hands gentle. They do not speak, but they gesture toward a small bowl of sugared almonds dusted with orange peel. You take one, savor the crunch, the citrus sigh, the sweetness that does not insist. You taste time, and the way it cools on the tongue. Another stall displays glass vials in neat rows, each with a paper label in looping script. You uncork one, and a fragrance unrolls like a ribbon, a note of cypress, a memory of rain on lyre strings, a breath of dust lifted from a book at dawn. You cork it again and smile, surprised by how precisely it reminds you of standing within an echo, of pressing your ear to the city's heart, at a table laid with fabrics. You run your fingers across linens, the color of faded frescoes, sandalwood, terracotta, chalcedony blue. The fibers breathe whispers, soft, and you imagine one draped over your shoulders, weightless warmth, stillness woven into cloth dot. From the far end of the market, music rises, a melody that walks, then floats, then settles like a bird onto a branch of quiet. A lute and a reed flute speak to each other in a language that belongs to water and stone and the spaces between stars. You let the notes settle on your skin, a soft constellation of sound. You are not listening to music. You are wearing it. In the center of the market stands a fountain unlike the others you've met. Its basin is black granite, so polished it mirrors the sky, and from its center rises a single slender column from which water spills in a perfect, seamless sleeve. The sleeve does not break. It descends in continuous silk, gathering the flicker, bore of nearby lamps, gathering the pearls of night. You dip your fingers in, and it feels like touching cool light, as if liquid could remember brightness and choose to be gentle. A path opens beyond the stalls, a narrow lane that looks as though it has been drawn with charcoal. It beckons. The market's warmth lingers at your back as you follow the lane, past a doorway where basil flourishes in a terracotta pot, past a stair whose steps have been carved into shallow smiles by 1,000 ascents. You arrive at a courtyard, so quiet you almost hesitate to breathe too loudly. Its walls are high and cloaked in ivy, the leaves a deep green that cradles the night. At the far end, carved into the stone, is a set of double doors, tall, wooden, banded with iron. Their surface is tattooed with tiny marks made by time, pinpricks, scratches, the silvery trails of age. At eye level, a symbol is set into the wood, a key and a feather crossing like old friends. You lift the iron ring and tap it once against the plate. The sound is soft and low, like a bell wrapped in velvet. The doors open not outward, not inward, but somehow sideways into stillness. A breath of cool air brushes your cheek, carrying the scent of ink, linen, and the pale sweetness of old paper. You step into the eternal library, It does not have a ceiling you can see. It has shadows that gleam, and shelves that rise into dark wonder, and ladders that lean, as if whispering confidences to the volumes they guard. Each shelf holds books of varying size, spines burnished by hands that loved them. Some are bound in leather that gleams like river stones. Others are wrapped in fabrics that hush when touched. Here and there, a roll of papyrus or a folded map peeks from a niche, patient as a sleeping cat. Light arrives in gentle strata, lamps hanging from invisible wires. Munglow poured down from who knows where. Dust becomes slow snow in those shafts, each mote a floating thought. You walk, and the library listens to your footsteps with pleasure, as if delighted that someone has returned to ask it a question without words. On a table near the entrance lies a pen carved from olive wood, its nib dipped in the faintest trace of gold. Beside it, a book lies open. The page is blank, but the margins are soft with the memory of writing. You touch the paper with one fingertip, and a warmth answers like the first sip of tea. Letters do not appear, but something quieter does. Permission. You wander deeper. Some books hum in your hand, gentle as a cat's purr. Others feel cool, and silent, as if they are listening for the right question. You take down a slim volume with a spine the color of dusk. When you open it, the room tilts into a small and tender magic. There are no words inside, only scent. Cypress, fountain, mist, fruit warmed by late afternoon, linen drying on a line in a courtyard where a child hums to themselves. You close the book, and the scent dims to a memory that will not leave you. At another shelf, you find a book whose cover is embossed with a pattern of intersecting arches. When you open it, you hear the faintest sound, the echo of sandal soles pour on stone, the whisper of silk, the delicate clap of a door closing somewhere loving. You realize the library is full of books that remember different senses. Some remember tastes, some remember touch, some remember the tiny electrical sigh of a candle just after it is blown out. A librarian appears, not from a doorway, but from a very attentive kind of shadow. Their face is calm and unlined by urgency, their eyes bright as if they spend time conversing with stars. They incline their head to you, and in that gesture is the hospitality of 1,000 quiet nights. They extend a hand toward a staircase spiraling upward, a ribbon of carved stone polished by uncountable ascents. You follow, your palm sliding across the banister, which feels like cool silk somehow taught to be stone. At the first landing, a tall window opens, not onto the city, but onto a mosaic of dream. You see a square filled with lanterns that bloom like fireflies, a bridge whose top arch holds the moon as if it were a shallow bowl, a market that seems to sigh the way contentment sighs. You realize the library gathers not only books, but the city's own dreaming. At the second landing, a room waits with a long table of walnut and several chairs, each chair carved with a different leaf: laurel, olive, fig, plane tree. As If each seat could alter the flavor of the thoughts you think while sitting there. On the table, a bowl of figs and almonds, a clay jug of water, and cups glazed the color of distant rain. You pour a little water, and it tastes as though it has been drawn from a well that remembers moonlight. The librarian gestures to a lectern where an atlas lies open. The atlas is unlike any you have seen. Its pages map not continents, but moments. The moment an evening breeze first touches your neck. The moment a bell is not heard but felt against the ribs. The moment a street seems to tilt toward you with recognition. As you turn the pages, your own footsteps appear in delicate ink, tiny symbols marking fountains you have met, arches you have admired, stones that greeted your palms with cool patience. You close the atlas gently, feeling a sweetness bloom through your chest, a field of quiet that grows with every breath. The librarian seems satisfied and begins to drift away, and you understand there are no questions you must ask, no rules to remember. The library is an ocean of permission, and you may swim until the idea of edges no longer matters. Back on the ground floor, a narrow passage shaped like a sigh leads to a smaller room. A skylight opens above it. It is not a glass window, but a clean cut into the night, through which starlight pours in a soft column. Beneath the starlight stands a single chair and a small table. On the table rests a wooden box, its lid inlaid with the feather and key symbol you saw upon the door. You lift the lid. Inside are cards, not for fortune, but for remembrance. Each card bears a simple drawing, a laurel leaf, a river stone, an arch, a door, a jar, a lamp, a ladder disappearing into shadow. You take the card with the arch, and at once you feel the shape of passage open within you, a gentleness inviting you from one way of being to another. You set it beside the chair, and the starlight gleams like a soft bell. When you leave the box as you found it, you feel a small promise settle into your pocket, a weightless coin, a token of the library's trust. You walk back down the passage. The librarian is nowhere to be seen, but you feel a bow in the air, a farewell that is also an open door. Outside, the courtyard breathes, ivy steady as a sleeping tide. The market's music is a distant hum now, like a memory testing its wings. You turn toward a lane you do not recall seeing before, its stones paler, its air threaded with jasmine and something like star anise. You follow, and the city becomes softer still, as if its edges have been dipped in dream. A quiet square reveals itself, no fountain this time, but a shallow pool where the moon lays itself down entirely, like a coin on velvet. Cypress trees ring the water, their silhouettes long and patient. Bench, smooth, worn weights beneath one tree, and you sit, letting your body be held by its kindness. Here the night feels like a book opened to the sweetest chapter. You listen to everything that is not trying to be heard. The whisper of beetle wings in the grass. A distant door that closes with a soft handshake of wood and latch. Somewhere the smallest echo of laughter like a thread of light. Your breath continues to fold and unfold, slow curtains of air. With each exhale, you notice how much lighter you feel, as if layers of dust have lifted and become part of the night sky. With each inhale, you notice how much more vivid the world tastes. How stone can taste like a memory of the sea. How shadow can taste like linen cool from a shelf. How silence can taste like a pear just at the edge of ripeness. When you rise, it is not because you must, but because the city has placed a new curiosity just within reach. Down a few steps, beneath a lintel etched with a spiral, a passage opens into a chamber where the walls are frescoed with constellations. They were painted long ago, but they shine as if the painter pressed real starlight into wet plaster and whispered to it until it agreed to stay. You trace one delicate line, the curve of a river, the arc of a hunter's bow, the gentle sweep of a song through air dot. In the chamber's center stands a basin of bronze. Above it hangs a thin chain with a small ladle. You dip the ladle and lift it. The water inside is perfectly still, holding a miniature night. You tip it to your lips, a sip only. It tastes of cool stone and patience. And when your tongue presses to the roof of your mouth, you feel a door open within the quiet space behind your eyes. You do not step through. You simply know that you could whenever you wish. Back in the open air, lanterns lower themselves as if drowsy, and window boxes exhale the perfume of herbs. The echo of your steps grows softer, like a lullaby that taught itself to become a breeze. You let your hands brush the walls as you pass those good stones, those old friends, and they brush you back with their cool, grainy tenderness. Where will you drift next? There is a street that slopes toward a square you have not seen. There is a flight of steps that seems to pour down like water, streaked by centuries of rain. There is a door half open, with lamplight blooming round the edges like honey. You choose the steps. They carry you as a river carries a leaf. At the bottom, another fountain waits, the bowl shallow, the lip wide enough to sit upon. You do, and the stone sighs a welcome. This water's voice is quicker, bright as small bells, tumbling over one another. You cup your hands and bring them close, not to drink now, but to breathe, to let the mist cool your face, to let the scent of coin-bright water and mossy edge thread into you. The mist lifts a curl of your hair, settles it again, as if tucking. Beyond the fountain, a baker's door is propped open with a stone shaped like a pear. From within, the warm whisper of bread, the edge of caramel from crust, a ghost of lemon peel. You step to the door frame and pause, not crossing it, only letting the aroma wash past. On a wooden table, under the lamp, a loaf rests in a cradle, put up linen, its surface a topography of valleys and peaks. You imagine it breaking the crisp sigh, the steam rising like early morning. It is enough to imagine. Farther on, you pass a courtyard, where a fig tree leans over a well. The leaves breathe a resinous sweetness into the air. A clay jug sits near the well, and a sleepy moth wavers above its rim, as if deciding whether water can be a kind of light. You look up. Between rooflines, the night is narrow and infinite at once. A ribbon that winds into forever. The city has become a book you are still reading even with your eyes closed, and your breath has become the turning of its pages, in and out, a gentle cadence, unbroken, kind. If you sit, the stones lift you. If you stand, the night steadies you. If you walk, the streets carry you softly forward, inviting you to keep wondering, to keep noticing the way a lantern makes a small sun out of a puddle, the way ivy gives the wind a voice, the way silence brightens everything it touches. There is no last place to reach, no final arch after which there are no more arches. There is only this unfolding, this drifting, this being guided by curiosity's light hand. You can continue toward the hushed plazas, or return to the library to lay your palm on the atlas again, or cross the bridge once more to listen to the river speak in silver. You can follow the cat if it appears, or the sound of a lute, or the ribbon of jasmine that momentarily braids the air. And as you wander, your body grows heavier in the sweetest way, not burdened, but resting more deeply into the cradle of this night. Your shoulders are warm and loose. Your jaw is soft. Your hands fall easily, open to receiving the breeze. The skin along your arms can feel the difference between lamp-warm air and river-cool air, and delights in both. Perhaps now you will choose another bridge, one of stones paler than the rest, one that holds the moon close, as if it were an old friend leaning on your shoulder. You step onto it, and the river below answers with a hush so tender it feels like silk slipping through rings. On the far bank, a line of plane trees waits like watchful poets, their bark dappled, their leaves drafting a soft letter to the night. Asterisk, you pause in the middle, resting your elbows on the parapet, and close your eyes. You hear a bell that does not ring but breathes, a lilt of laughter from a group of friends who have forgotten to be anything but content, a single gull remarking on the moon. You smell the rich hint of coffee from a cafe that keeps a lamp just for the river, the aroma of almonds singing in sugar, a low, slow seam of wood smoke from some tenderness of fire. You feel the parapet cool under your forearms, the breeze smoothing your hair, the night resting its palm between your shoulder blades. You open your eyes. The current has shifted slightly, or perhaps it is simply the moon moving. Either way, the silver is new again. You smile and keep walking, and the bridge lets go of you with good grace, as if proud to have carried you. Back among the lanes, you find a street so narrow the balconies nearly kiss. White curtains breathe like quiet creatures. Someone waters basil. There's that sudden splash on tile, that wet dark scent of soil content with its clay pot. A wooden chair sits on a threshold with a cushion the color of an apricot at noon. Run your fingers across the cushion, a ribbed fabric, a little warm from lamplight. You leave it as you found it, and the chair seems pleased by your courtesy. Asterisk, here is a door with a window whose glass is wavy, like water taught to remember. Within that waviness, a lamp becomes a comet. Within that waviness, your reflection becomes a traveler, older than your bones and younger than your breath. You tilt your head. The comet tilts with you. You pass on, comet and traveler, aligned for a few steps more. If you were to look behind you now, you would not see the places you've been. You would see the path they opened inside you, fountains, stitched like bright buttons along a calm coat, arches like quiet gates you keep in your pocket, shelves full of fragrances that you can read with your breathing. Forward is only another way of saying here again, because each corner is a new version of arrival, and so, with the most unhurried patience, you let the city guide you to wherever your next gentle breath wishes to land. Perhaps a terrace, where vines tassel a trellis. Perhaps a stair that remembers rain. Perhaps a piazza, where the moon sits on the lip of a statue's bowl, sipping water like a guest who has nowhere else to be. If your eyes grow heavy, let them. If your shoulders sink, let them. If your thoughts grow far apart, like lamps along a country road, let them be spaced with kindness. There is nothing here that needs to be grasped. There is only what wishes to be admired, then released, like a silk ribbon from your fingers. You may wander until you forget you are wandering. You may sit and forget you are sitting. You may listen and realize the listening is listening to itself. And all the while the streets of Rome unfurl like a slow comet's tail. 10,000 soft lights stitched into its length, each one an invitation, each one a permission, each one an opening through which your imagination may step softly onward. And if at any moment you wish to turn toward the river again, you will find the bridge waiting without impatience. If you wish to return to the library, the feather-end key will bloom on the door like a small, certain star. If you wish to enter the market one last time, a sugared almond will be exactly as sweet as a memory of morning. It is all here, tidal, tender, eternal, and ready to welcome you with the quietest applause of leaves and lamplight. So continue through arches of moonlight, past fountains that write silver poems, along streets that know how to speak gently with your feet. Let curiosity be your lantern, and let your breath be the soft bell that rings in time with your steps. There is no edge to this wandering. There is only the sweetness of another corner, another small square, another whisper of jasmine in the night, and another old stone waiting to greet your open palm with cool, unhurried kindness. And if you choose to keep drifting, the city will walk with you, light on the stones, patient as the river, bright as the quiet stars, until the boundary between the streets and your inner sky grows thin as silk, and you can no longer tell where Rome ends and your dreaming continues. You are welcome to stay in this gentle unfolding, for as long as your breath wishes to draw its soft circles, for as long as the moon is happy to lean upon your shoulder, for as long as curiosity keeps lifting its small lantern and saying, "This way," just a little further into wonder. Continue wandering, Starlit, your voice slow even more. Linger on the breaths and the commas if you wish to extend the audio. Revisit the bridge, the market, the library. and the fountains in any order, repeating. The sensory textures. Each return feels new in this timeless city. Each detail another doorway to the same serene expanse.